Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive After Dark as we finish our supper. Get all ready to go here. Get some game fuel going. Yeah, there we go. Welcome, everybody. Dave Valente. Joining us tonight is Emily Hurley, our friend from Illinois.
Illinois.
And my sister, Goddess Care Bear.
All hail the goddess.
All hail. Stu, I'm sitting backstage in your virtual green room.
Yeah.
And it occurs to me every time that I always wonder what kind of show I'm going on. Because it sounds like porn music.
It's the After Dark show. It's like, remember Playboy After Dark? There was that Playboy After Dark show. Yeah, it was actually a network TV show. It was like, well, it was, that after 11:30 stuff. But
I don't know what you're talking about. I was a good girl.
Well, I mean, it was on before my time, but it was Popper.
He needed attention.
Yes.
Who
Let's give
dat?
him attention. Hey, Popper.
Who dat? Oh, you dirty bird. Turtwig just came in and peed on the PSP that I was trying to clean up.
There you go. But yeah, so Playboy After Dark was like Hugh Hefner would come out and he'd have his, this is like early 60s, early mid 60s.
You know about this.
Silk gems and a smoking.
I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah. Lies.
No, I wasn't.
Yes, I know.
I was not in the early 60s. Patrick was, but I was not. 1968, baby.
But anyway, yes, I love that piece of music. That is, so I found that piece of music. It plays on, every year I get the subscription to the NHL Center Ice package for all the hockey games.
Uh-huh.
And, if they rotate the songs that they play when they're just showing the schedule, no games are playing. And this was one of those songs, and it's just got that great porn bass line thing going on. And,
you want a porn bass line.
Aaliyah and I picked up on it, and we start doing this little groovy thing. We start talking about, we call it the hockey song of love, when we start going, BB, my BB is the best BB ever. See? Gotta spice the marriage up sometimes,
Well, yeah.
I know about this.
I don't know. Stop. I promised debauchery to some people on the show, on the first show. Unfortunately, our guest for the first show did not show up. I don't know what happened. Dan's not the kind of type, at least to me, that ghosts. So I'm worried. I hope he's okay, and I hope to get him on soon because he's a good dude. I like Dan, and I like what his organization, People for Liberty, are doing. Again, changing the level of discourse in the country. Today, I think the big story that came out, at least for Emily and myself, one of our favorite people, one of the nicest people in the liberty movement, somebody that libertarians all over, it doesn't even matter what your allegiance is within the Libertarian Party, whatever caucus you're in. People love Kim Ruff. She's based out of Arizona. She ran for president in 2020. Emily worked for her campaign.
I was her campaign manager.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And she was running for Arizona Inspector of Mines. It's not a massive job.
It's not sexy.
It's not sexy.
But
it's a job. It's a job that she's qualified to do.
Right.
Eminently qualified.
Yes. And until the Republicans in the state legislature passed a law, basically
just a couple days ago.
Yeah, a couple days ago, passed a law basically changing the rules after candidate filing's done.
So what exactly does the law say?
That I'm not exactly sure, but she's looking at her legal options right now as to how she can move forward with her campaign.
That
But
needs to be challenged.
it does need to be challenged. But we've challenged a lot of stuff in Arizona before. They do a lot of dirty stuff. You know, ballot access petitioning for one example is in Arizona. Like most states, if you do ballot access petitioning, you just get a signature of a registered voter within that state or that within the state or that district that you're trying to run for office in.
Sure.
In Arizona, you can't be a Republican or a Democrat and sign a ballot access petition. You have to be a registered libertarian, and I think you can be a independent voter.
Oh,
Yeah.
to sign a libertarian petition.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. All right.
Oh,
So you're like
that
already
is
diluting
stacked.
the pool. Yeah, already diluting the pool. Plus, you have you set the signature requirement at a reasonably high level. And anybody who's done ballot access petitioning as a libertarian knows that you have to, the law says you have to say 10,000 signatures. But
And I'm sorry, how is that even representative? If you're bringing a petition for a case to Republicans and Democrats, but you're not getting other fellow Republican and Democrats signatures, it's not representative. Oh, that makes me so angry.
I know, but so not only if you say your ballot access petition number is 10,000, you have to get at least 15 to survive legal challenges. Probably closer to 17,000.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's people will say, why can't the Libertarian Party make any inroads? Why does the Libertarian Party struggle so much? When it comes to ballot access, that is like the number one reason why we struggle is, we've put so much time, effort, money, blood into just getting on the ballot. And the way they've got these ballot access signature drives, they're always usually kind of in that middle part of the year. So, you're waiting until the very, like August before you're qualified for the ballot. And then you can really start campaigning. It's hard to campaign when you're not even on the ballot at this point.
Right.
And, and you're still putting all your resources to making sure you get on the ballot. So we're spent on resources. We're spent on, by that time, by the time August and September run around, especially in high profile races, you don't have ad time to buy because it's already been bought up by the Democrats and the Republicans. So
well,
there's a whole
get on a party ballot to get on at least a primary ballot. I can understand limiting it to members of your party, but those numbers should be representative.
Sure.
But here's the problem. Republicans in general, Arizona especially now, they have control of the state power structures, but they are losing ground, and they know that they can't continue to win elections. So they're very dedicated to passing new laws, rewriting election laws that prohibit people from running. Or the really fun one right now is that they've been fighting for a law change. I'm not sure the status of it right now, saying that if the legislature doesn't approve of the candidate that the electors pick, they can overturn the election. Now, I don't see how something like that holds up.
Yeah.
But some people are just fine with that. And I have to wonder why. Why would you be fine
Probably
with that?
don't understand it.
Well, yeah. Well, no, they're only looking at it in the lens of, well, Donald Trump lost because we didn't agree with them losing, and that happened in Arizona. So that's what they're looking at it through. They wanted the legislature to step in,
right,
and be able to overturn it, and they're not. They just can't. I can't. Well, I can believe that they're doing it. But anyway, Emily, you worked with Kim. I know you're.
And she's one of my very best friends. I'm also very close friends with her campaign manager. And so, I mean, we've been, she's been just knocked for a loop. I've been just livid. I want to become a revolutionary and just do bad things.
When I hear this
I don't
stuff,
blame
like,
you.
you know, when do we start doing drive-bys on the Capitol? You know,
Yeah, I'm furious on her behalf.
I think
And
the
here's
NSA is watching right now.
Who's watching?
Yeah.
The NSA.
The NSA, they're always watching. Big Brother. So Kim has already invested thousands of dollars into her campaign materials.
Sure.
And I mean, because up until the 18th, she was a valid candidate. In fact, very qualified. She's worked alongside the mining industry in many different positions, but she's been in fabrication and especially focusing on copper. So I mean, she's very qualified, but then they now make the mining inspector role, it must be someone who has been a manager within the mining industry for 4 years. That's a very narrow scope. It shuts out not only the workers of the mines, which deserve representation, but it shuts out everyone else who might bring valid points to the table, like Kim.
Since when has qualification been an issue in an election? I mean, if there's no qualification for, I don't know, president, why would we be so nitpicky about, a lower office?
Well, we know why.
But let's be real. Managers generally don't know shit about their jobs anyway.
Well, right. They aren't the ones doing the job. They're the ones delegating the work.
Yes.
So it's absurd, and it's just a blatant power grab.
The Travis Shamrock. Yeah, completely frustrating. I feel for her because, again, she is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
Nice, honest.
Yes.
She works so hard. I don't know how she does everything she does, but and with everything she does, she examines it critically. She examines her own thoughts and statements, and when she's wrong,
really, she's overqualified for this position.
Right? I know she is overqualified for this position, truly. And she would make just a fantastic mine inspector, and she's passionate about it. Like, she's actually been touring her home state, going to mines and studying up on geology. So, like, she's gotten certifications for mining. She's truly passionate about it because that's what she loves. And she's clearly a threat because she's well-spoken and intelligent and understands that freedom works.
Yeah.
And she's a woman.
Yes.
Let's not forget that. That's important.
This is two things. One's funny because in the presidential campaign, we got all sorts of attacks for her being a female in politics because that's hysterical, just ridiculous that a woman could have opinions. But one person told her to shove her opinions or something up her cavernous vagina.
Jesus.
Oh, I know. It was so disgusting, but it's so funny because of how just ridiculous.
I think you broke me.
I know, right? So it's been a running joke now that, your cavernous vagina, just shut up. So now, I mean, of course, she'd be perfect in mining because of that cavernous vagina.
She should put it on her lip.
Exactly.
But the second thing is, if you want to help Kim, they're in a holding pattern for about 48 hours until they can figure out what to do. But she has already put out a lot of money, of her own money, to build this campaign, to get it off the ground. you can help her by going to yournextmineinspector.com or go to her Facebook page, Kim Ruff, Arizona State Mine Inspector. And that has the link there as well. Just help a girl out. She already put out so much money for the presidential campaign, and now she's going again, going strong, and then they pull the rug out from under her feet. I highly encourage everyone to help.
I'm really sorry for your friend. That's genuinely terrible.
Is that the?
Yeah.
But it's
is that the right
genuinely
address
terrible
to
for
log in?
democracy.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's awful, and it speaks to larger issues that not only us. We can talk about our friends in the Green Party in Pennsylvania getting kicked off the ballot. Same in Ohio. We have problems in Ohio as well. Just to prevent competition.
Mhm.
And you see it a lot in states that are getting closer. The more balanced within the states, and that traditional party that's in control is getting a little more desperate.
Sure.
The Democrats were successful in getting the Greens kicked off in Pennsylvania because of what happened in 2016. They did it in a couple other states, I believe. I want to say Wisconsin and perhaps Minnesota as well, where they got the Green Party kicked off. And so, I mean, it's not just it's a fairly bipartisan issue that they'll use whatever they can to their advantage to reduce the number of voices in the debate. Well, don't get me started on debates either. So, but yeah, it's a stacked field. But I want to thank everybody joining us on Facebook tonight. I see quite a few people. Catherine, Kathy, Marissa joined us.
Hey, Marissa.
John Casey, who's with me in the People on the Ranked Choice Voting Committee, and we're Joe Pascal from North Carolina, and Robert Hagelin Jr., John Correa. Thanks everyone for joining us. If you have any questions or want us to talk about anything, Hody Johns as well, please feel free to put those in the chat, and I'll be happy to bring them up and we'll talk about them. The second story for us to talk about tonight, I just saw it on the BBC this evening. The family of Malcolm X is requesting that they reopen the murder investigation.
Ooh.
They got a deathbed confession from somebody who is indicating that it was a inside job between the police and the FBI.
Between who?
The police, New York City police, and the FBI.
Oh my God.
I pulled up an article about this before the show.
Yeah.
And the police officer, Ray Wood, he was serving as an undercover police officer on the day of Malcolm X's death, wrote a letter in which he admitted he participated in actions that, in hindsight, were deplorable and detrimental to the advancement of my own Black people. His job, he was hired by the NYPD to infiltrate civil rights organizations to find evidence of criminal activity so the FBI could discredit the subjects and arrest its leaders.
Mm.
Wow. That's
Have either of you ever read The Assassination of Fred Hampton?
I have not.
Astounding book. The author, and I can't remember his name, came to the law school when I was in my third year and talked to us about his book, and I got a copy of it. It's fascinating. But basically, Fred Hampton was assassinated by the FBI in his bed, in a hail of bullets next to his pregnant wife.
That sounds familiar.
Doesn't it sound familiar?
Yeah.
I've always thought about Breonna Taylor, Fred Hampton, when, Breonna Taylor was murdered. That was the first thing I thought of was, I wonder what she knew or what her boyfriend knew, or because that was just an assassination.
Yeah.
And you'll never convince me otherwise.
No. It was, ugh. You know, all the events that happened this summer, and it's sad to me because partly I know that you know we have had the change of administrations. We still haven't seen, or we haven't seen any criminal reform. We never saw criminal reform from Trump, which was no surprise.
It's, I am going to say, although I'm not happy either, I'm
It's
willing
coming.
to say that it's early. You
Yeah,
know,
I think it's coming from Biden. I think I don't know what form it's going to take, and of course, when it gets into the legislative process, it's going to get hacked to bits.
mm-hmm.
But you know, I'm interested to see what they propose. If they're coming out with a strong legislation, hey, all power to them. But it's got to be strong legislation. We've got to have substantive, real criminal justice reform brought out by this
Yeah.
White House.
I agree with you. I'm concerned because we have people like, Joe Manchin, who have no real political spine.
Joe just loves being. He's thinking that he's channeling his inner John McCain.
He doesn't have an inner John McCain.
Joe likes being the ultimate power broker in Washington, D.C. right now. He knows that he has an outsized influence for being a senator from a small state that's getting smaller, that he is the, you know, actually any senator could pull this role off if they want to. He does have a record of bucking his party. So he does become kind of the most likely person to do it. But, you know, when it's 50-50, any senator can be the power broker.
Right.
But yeah, Joe likes his outsized influence right now. But when it comes to 2024, when he's back up for re-election, this state has gone so hard right. I don't think even if he has a perfect right voting record the next 4 years that he gets reelected.
I don't understand how poor people can vote Republican.
Oh,
I don't understand how anyone could vote Republican or Democrat.
Well, I mean,
because they all take your money.
Yeah, you should have been here for the parade.
Which parade?
Probably about a month before the election. I called it Fools on Parade, and it was all these big, you know, massive, oversized trucks with Trump flags.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, miles and miles of these guys going down the road. And, you know, it wasn't just, you know, Martinsburg or the Eastern Panhandle. This was all over the state of West Virginia. It was all over Trump country. You know, wherever they're at in this, you know, wherever there was a conglomeration of Trump supporters, they had these parades everywhere.
Yeah, they had them here.
Yeah, it's.
And it is. It's Morons on Parade.
Fools on Parade. Set to the Rage Against
one way.
Yeah, well, no, you set it to the Rage Against the Machine Bulls on Parade.
I see. Okay.
Yes. Right.
I'm just frustrated.
Yeah.
The entire country is.
Yeah.
One thing I will hope as we move forward is that we are going to learn that we shouldn't rely on the federal government to solve all our problems. I think the more local that you can move this stuff back to, keep funneling the stuff down, so that, I can go up to my city councilor, my county commissioner. I can talk to them. I know who they are.
Let me ask you this, though. Do you think that there are things that the federal government has to step in and answer, like
Protection of
like
rights.
voting rights, like this nonsense coming out of Arizona about changing the game on Kim and deciding that they can overturn an election in the legislature if they're not happy with the results.
Protection of rights are a big thing. That the one, I think, legitimate. There are two legitimate roles that you could argue: the defense of the country.
But that's also
I'm talking
protection of rights.
defense, not bombing brown kids and
That's offense,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And the broader protection of rights that aren't necessarily hit by a war, protecting people's rights to life, liberty, and property. Those are the legitimate functions of whatever government you have. But I think we have to invert the pyramid when it comes to structure. You've got way too much power at the top right now, way too much invested there. Get it local. Get it to where you can access it yourself, rather than, boy, I hope I've got a friend working in Congressman so and so's office, or I have money to be influential with this party or that party.
Well, and that's exactly right. It comes down to accountability. It's so much harder to hold strangers accountable, and especially strangers who live thousands of miles away in a place that you're never going to go. It's hard enough to go to your state capital if you don't already live there. So yes, I agree that the pyramid absolutely needs to be flipped so that this elected representative democracy is able to be held accountable when it goes awry, and it does and has, and will continue to go awry.
Way awry.
But I don't think. I agree with you that we all need to learn that the federal government isn't a benevolent big brother. I don't think the American people as a whole are going to learn that in time to avoid bloodshed.
Well, another Trump, or another, somebody who's worse than Trump. People say you can't get worse than Trump. I beg to differ. History is replete with people who are worse than Trump.
Yes.
And we are.
Well, there are a handful, sure.
There's a whole lot more than a handful.
Trump's an asshole. That's there are people out there who legit. You want to know who's worse than Trump? Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller is worse than Trump.
That guy's.
And you know what? If he ran for office as a Republican in a very friendly territory, he's going to get elected.
Yeah. Well, unless he goes to prison with the rest of them.
They kept on telling us that Hillary was going to prison. I'm not going to.
For what?
Yeah.
No,
For what?
I'm not. Hey,
it doesn't matter.
That was the promise that, and when governments become despotic, they don't need a reason. They don't need a reason to put somebody in jail.
I understand that, but okay, so you don't like Hillary, send her to prison, whatever.
It's not
Trump.
even like
Trump actually crimed openly and nakedly, committed criminal acts over and over and over again, and he even. He never even hid the fact that he was doing it.
No.
And
that's the thing. These other guys have openly crimed. When you talk about bombing kids in Afghanistan, extrajudicial killings in Yemen, these are actual crimes that they, but they said all the nice words, and they spoke politically, they spoke diplomatically, but they also committed crimes that honestly,
And which is more duplicitous? That's what boggles my mind. So why are we so angry at a man who does all those things and is open about them, and then the people who lie to us about doing them we're not quite as angry at? It's far more duplicitous for us to be lied to.
well, it's that we didn't do anything about the people that were lying to us, that allowed for someone to be open about it. Because if you're not, it's the
Okay.
same
I mean,
crime.
it doesn't make it any worse.
No, it doesn't make it any worse. But because we allowed people to do it, and then just sweet talk us to our face, and allowed people to be murdered.
I demand my sweet talk again, damn it.
Yeah, whisper in my ear,
If you're gonna fuck me, yeah.
Yeah, cop a feel, make me feel pretty. But that's what allowed somebody to be a brash, open abuser of the system. And we're still not talking about, hey, what powers do we need to kind of wean away from the president, get away from him, so that when the next time, we're only an election away from having just a complete despotic ruler. I mean, it's frightening when you think about it, but we've allowed it to maintain that massive power there in the presidency. Allows them to ignore Congress, allows them to throw executive orders, allows them to throw allows them to throw political prisoners in Guantanamo without a trial, without right to counsel.
Define despotic, because I'm pretty sure we've passed despotic.
So despotic to me is when we have. I mean, I'll say that FDR loading up people into concentration camps in the United States, that's despotic. You have more permanent concentration camps, re-education camps, actual death camps. That's the danger zone. We've allowed this stuff to happen. It can happen again.
It will
And it can
happen
go
again.
worse.
Yes. And we're on our way. I mean, if any student of history is watching like events unfold that have been repeated countless times, and it's just a matter of time before real bloodshed happens. And it's terrible. I'm not advocating for it. I'm saying, what can we do to stop this snowball that's increasing speed?
Yeah. I got a question from Robert Hagelin Jr. I was wondering what your opinion on the state of West Virginia trying to make the heads of development and tourism cabinet positions. Well, I mean, it's going to happen whether we want it or not. The Republicans have super majorities in the state of West Virginia, both houses. Of course, Jim Justice is our governor. Do I think it makes a big difference? I don't know. I'd have to read the bills, the bill that is making its way through the House and Senate, to see what the difference is between cabinet and where they're at as I can't remember what they call them now, but they do have Mitch Carmichael, who was the Senate president up until this year. He lost his reelection bid, and he's now the head of development. I will always criticize Mitch Carmichael because he worked for Frontier Communications, and Frontier Communications got the broadband contract for West Virginia. They got federal money, they got state money. They blew it. There's no broadband. I mean, broadband in West Virginia is a joke at this point. Frontier was probably the worst company that they could have chosen. I think any company called Frontier is bad. Frontier Airlines, Frontier Communications. I always spell it.
Wait a minute. Frontier sweet roll.
Okay, no, that's the exception that proves the rule. God, Frontier. Well, yeah. Oh man.
If anything can make you book a ticket to come see me, it's going to be the Frontier sweet roll.
Frontier sweet roll. Yeah, absolutely. I love Frontier Restaurant in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But I Frontier Airlines, Frontier Communications. I don't spell it Frontier. It's Frontear. It's a lot of tears dealing with that. So Mitch Carmichael worked for Frontier, wasted the money. Now the federal government came back to West Virginia because they wasted the money and wanted the money from West Virginia. So the state had to pony up that money back to the federal government because Frontier dropped the ball. And I don't think that they've gone after Frontier for any of that money. So not only did we invest money in Frontier as West Virginia taxpayers, we sent them money. Federal government sent them money, but now we don't have broadband, and now we're sending the federal government money that Frontier didn't pay back. That's Mitch Carmichael. That's why I always rail on Mitch Carmichael. And he's head of development now in the state of West Virginia. Yay!
No accountability.
No accountability at all. So
failing upward.
Fuck up, move up. Yeah. FUMU.
I don't like this acronym.
Yes. So anyway, thanks for the questions. John Phillips says we're right about Frontier Communications. Frontier Communications is awful. I mean, my first podcast, we had two guys that were trying to dial in on Frontier Communications, and it was so glitchy, and so we lost them a couple times. It's hard in West Virginia to get people to do broadband, because. And it's only getting harder because you've got so many people using the system now. The kids going to school, parents working from home. You just got so much loaded up on the system now. So it's like a double whammy when it comes to broadband in the state.
New Mexico has similar issues.
Yeah, I get it because we're both rural, heavily rural states, mountains and all that stuff. I mean, it's not an easy state to put broadband into, but
right.
The massive government expenditure that went to do it completely failed. And there was no oversight on it at all. That's just failing. But
sorry, my dog is chewing a bone and it's super cute.
Just turn the camera on the dog.
No.
Well, thanks for the questions. Keep the questions coming. I appreciate them, and we'll definitely discuss them on air. So, what else is going on in the world?
Apparently, our very own Tyler Smith has announced a run for secretary for the National LP.
Yes, Libertarian National Committee secretary.
Where's he been?
Well, right now he's doing some drunken debauchery in Tennessee at the Tennessee State Libertarian Convention, which is where he announced his run. We've talked about it before in private that he was going to run. I definitely encourage him to run. I will wholeheartedly endorse Tyler because he is a great guy, very passionate.
He also worked for me on the Kim Ruff campaign and was phenomenal. He went above and beyond so often. Yeah.
I love Tyler. So definitely happy to see him formally announce. He was going to do it last week, but he was actually going to come on the show this week and do it on the show. But we had arranged Dan to come on, and he was like, basically anybody who comes on wants to come on, you can let them come on instead of me. But we're happy to see Tyler in the race. It's gonna be a long 15 months till the election. So, but yeah, he gets out there. He's able to hit the convention circuit this year. Hit the convention circuit next year. And I think he's going to do very well in the election.
Good deal.
Yep.
Good deal. Well, Albuquerque School Board voted to stay remote for the rest of the year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the backlash has been really ugly. And what I think people don't realize is that they don't have any bus drivers because they couldn't employ them for a year. So they would have to hire all new bus drivers, and they haven't done that. You know, everybody's saying, oh, well, teachers don't need vaccines to work. Well, we need bus drivers to get the kids to school.
Yeah.
There will be no lunches or breakfasts. We just aren't prepared. It's not safe. No.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. So, but the backlash is all on the teachers. The comments from the public have been really ugly.
Yeah.
You know, and saying that teachers are just drawing a paycheck and not working.
Ooh, I doubt. I disagree.
Let me just tell you how much that hurts. I put in at least 10 to 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, creating lesson plans, doing professional development, learning new tools and platforms. And I still have all my observations and evaluations. And there's all this talk of grace and or at least there was in the beginning of the school year, but now it's just coming down on the teachers, and they are going to have a big problem come the fall because a lot of my colleagues are planning to resign or retire.
Yeah.
And they won't have enough teachers to go around when they do open up again. But it is a scary time, and the shenanigans coming from members of our school board, a member of our school board, and you'll probably be able to get more information out of me next week on that, are just despicable. But you know, we're trying our best to support one another, and it's really hard. They've been saying, oh, well, kids committing suicide, the numbers are way up. We've had in APS 3 student deaths this year. One was a kid with COVID. So, you know, there's that. And 2, I don't know the details of, but we've had 3 students that have passed away this year. I just wonder what the rates were before.
I mean, I remember students dying in when I was going to APS back in the day, and you know, one was a motorcycle accident, one was
right.
kid caught up in an arroyo during a storm, and other, there were some suicides throughout my years at Highland High School. So, yeah,
I just think you're going to start seeing teachers in that pool.
Yeah,
if you're not careful.
And that's the thing. I mean, like, we got to stop attacking each other. That's
attack the government instead.
Yes. Burn this motherfucker down, Pookie. Kara's like, I'm not listening.
Sorry, Kara.
I didn't say it.
Not sorry.
I didn't say that.
My personal
responsibility.
My personal NSA agent's like, oh, fucking David's going in. Damn it. But yeah, I mean, seriously, we're sitting out there attacking each other, and that's exactly what they want us to do is to take all this shit out, all of our anger out on each other. Pit pit parents against teachers and Republicans against Democrats, and
Divide and
more.
conquer.
Yeah, I mean, it really is kind of the old British model: divide and rule, and as long as the natives are fighting each other, we don't have much to worry about in our end. We can do whatever the fuck we want. So, it's we got to continue to keep our focus on what's going on, at the state, at the federal, and your local level. We don't pay attention enough on what's going on at our local level because we're so focused on, and the power structure is so focused on the federal level.
Right.
My whole point: flip the pyramid, invert it, make sure put the base where it needs to be, which is the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, I know I've mentioned on here a few weeks ago that John Phillips Jr. is running for his local city council. The primary is either the 22nd or 23rd. So I think, it's Tuesday. And he says with mail-in voting that they're doing now, we don't know when we're going to get the results, but the preliminary results we should get Tuesday night.
Cool.
So hopefully next week we'll have an update to celebrate that he's going to be on the actual ballot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
And I'm trying to find his website so we can put it up. John Phillips for Liberty. Liberty Bibbity.
I always get it confused with his email address, so I just didn't say anything.
All right, here we go. I encourage you to get out there and donate to John, because John's awesome. There we go. JohnPhillipsForLiberty.com. Go there, like it, love it, donate to it. All right, we got anything else going on here?
No.
Oh, yeah, John's going to be on Libertarians at Large on Thursday night. So, that show's hosted by Eric Rodsep on the LNC, Laura Ebke and Valerie Sarwark, and I want to say they're bringing somebody on this week, but besides John, but John will be the guest candidate feature. So look forward to that. It's on LPTV on YouTube. It'll be on Facebook as well. I'll be sure to share it when it goes live. So
great.
Yeah. All right. Let's look for another. Oh, we passed 500,000 COVID deaths.
Yep.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
I'm sorry, Molotov? Oh, sorry. Well,
Your brain goes that fast.
Just today, I'm livid with what Arizona did to Kim.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Oh, did you guys see the video of the engine on fire on that airline, the United Airlines flight out of Denver to Hawaii?
Jesus.
No.
Oh. They would have called me the underwear bomber because I would have shat myself.
It was terrifying.
So this guy's like talking about, I was sitting, I was starting to take a nap after we took off and heard a loud bang. So I lifted the little window shade and looks out, and he takes the video that you guys see of this engine just blew the fuck up and it's on fire under a wing that's probably got some fuel in it. I mean,
thank goodness they were so close to the airport.
Yeah, I mean, they were 45 miles north of Denver International Airport. Turn around, they get back down on the ground. Thankfully, no one was hurt on the ground because several large pieces of
huge.
They were huge. Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize how big the engine was on this plane. But fell in the front yard of a residential home.
It looked like an above ground swimming pool.
Yeah. Fell in a soccer field.
Oh, I
yeah,
did see the pictures of the aftermath. Now that you say that,
yeah,
that's terrible.
massive pieces of plane falling from several thousand feet up, and that no one got hurt is truly a miracle. But yeah, I would have shat myself. I would have been like, he pooped himself. Yeah, that I would
I
not.
wonder how many
There would
people
have been no
did.
shame walking off that plane. That I would have been like, yep, that happened.
Hmm.
Like, did you see the engine? That's why.
Yeah.
That was very scary.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Hey,
tired.
Kara,
Yes, dear.
so back to education. My mother was a teacher her whole career. That's all she wanted to be, was a band director, and she was and a pioneer of her field. I'm super proud of her, and she was one of the best teachers, truly without bias, that I could ever imagine. Truly, she affected a lot of people, and she's retired, but she and I have an ongoing debate about compulsory education. What are your thoughts about compulsory education, and what effect do you see happening if teachers start leaving the field?
Wow, that's a big question. I've always believed in compulsory education to a certain age, and a free public education as long as you want to have one. So, because I really think that we are way short on it, especially people in medicine, people in science. We should be focusing our education on those. If we've learned nothing in the last year, we need more doctors and nurses and people who practice the medical profession, because we just don't have the people to do it right now, to deliver the health services that we need. What was the second half of that question? Very tired.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You mentioned that you foresee a lot of teachers leaving the field.
Right.
If there's a shortage of teachers, do you see that having an effect on the compulsory nature of school?
I think that if we have a shortage of teachers, what we probably will be doing is going to more online education, more virtual learning. So this pressure that they're creating could have the unintended consequence of prolonging a virtual education world. And I'm okay. I think it's okay. Some kids are really thriving under this model. Some aren't. And I am sure that there will be availability in both areas for students to learn the way they want to learn. And it could result in more education choice. I don't know. I will always believe in the public school system and in the need to support that, because it is, I think, the best way to deliver education, equally, if we fund it.
Okay.
For me, there's got to be some reform on how we do education. I think our education system is still built on that, old Prussian model that worked for, building soldiers and building, factory workers. Which is, no disrespect to, people being soldiers or factory workers, but we're in a technological age, and you need to adapt your education to really get into that, lean into that education age, the information age. Yeah, I think beyond what we see right now, you're going to see much more online learning. West Virginia, we're really starting to kind of pump the tires on charter schools. That's a big thing that's coming out of our
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Bringing out charter schools, and because West Virginia is like one of the last states to start charter schools. We haven't had them before. We still don't have them, despite passing a law in the last legislature to start them.
Well, it's not as simple as just poof, there's a school.
True,
There's a lot
true.
that goes into that.
Yeah, and the first
Mhm.
first school that tried to, get into the game, from what I gather, didn't have the best package. It was kind of a half-assed job that they sent before the local school board. But they're changing it so that it's not going to be a local choice now. It's more going to be a state choice, which I don't like that aspect of it. But they're trying to kind of force the charter school option on certain locations, and I don't know. It's not going to make sense in some areas.
Right.
They're like some of these counties have hemorrhaged so many people that their school systems are just depleted. You can't put a charter school there because there's just not enough kids to spread between the two schools. And people think that charter schools are private schools. Charter schools are public schools. They use public money. They get certain abeyances from some of the state regulation, but still they have to follow certain guidelines, lesson plans and all that stuff. That they have to maintain levels when it comes to teaching. I know, Kara, you've been involved in a charter school in Albuquerque, right?
Right. I was a substitute teacher in a charter school, and my kids went there. And I teach in a public school.
Yeah. But I don't know. For me, people think that charter schools are an ultimate panacea to what's ailing the public education system. It's not. It's one solution, but there should be as many solutions as you can to get the education, get children educated, and educated to what they want to learn and how they want to learn. Find their passion, get them plugged in, get them in education, whether it's, if they thrive online, let it be online. They thrive in a specialized school like a charter school that focuses on, science or STEM, do that. If they really thrive in the public school system with because all their friends are in the public school system, let them be there. But it's got to be education is not a one size fits all thing. And I think that far too long, we've treated it as we'll dictate how you learn reading, writing, arithmetic, out the door you go, in 13 years off to college or,
Well, I think we're seeing that model doesn't always work for everybody. It's not one size fits all. And I think educators are trying very hard
they're
to
hamstrung by the government.
adapt. Well, we're hamstrung by a lot of red tape. I mean, if you've never tried to write a lesson plan before with the Common Core curriculum standards, I had easier projects when I was in law school.
Yeah. I could imagine doing stuff with Common Core, and I'll be the first to tell you that I don't completely understand what, the impacts of Common Core are. I know a lot of people make fun of the Common Core math, the way that they teach math.
Right.
Um,
I don't get that, and I don't teach math, so I'm not going to speak to that.
yeah.
And people who do are geniuses, I got to tell you.
I substitute taught for a few years in Ohio, and I'll tell you the one day that I taught third grade and we had math to do, the kids taught me what they needed to do.
All right, show me what this is all about.
No idea how they were supposed to solve those problems. No idea.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
I was cool with math until they threw letters in it.
I have always
Yeah.
said
Fuck
the only
off.
place numbers and letters belong together is on a Scrabble board. I stand by that.
I'm a strict segregationist when it comes to letters and numbers.
Nice.
I can agree with that statement as well. I have to be careful with what I agree with you on. That's
Okay.
always been true.
Helen's
though.
going in Kara's file.
I don't need that nonsense right now. It's hard. It's hard out there.
Yeah, it is.
I have to go. I have.
right.
I'm exhausted, and I have to teach in the morning. I'm losing my voice, but I really
Yeah.
enjoyed the night.
They're
You guys
always
are
losing
awesome.
their voice.
Likewise.
I'm just tired. You know, I'm tired. I feel like Madeline Kahn and Blazing Saddles. I'm tired.
Tired. Sick.
Tired.
And tired. I'm going to sing the whole song. Favorite movie.
But
I know,
well,
it's great.
this is a good place we can stop. We've been going at it for an hour, so. But thanks both of you for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
If you're out and about on Facebook, Twitter, all that fun stuff, if you're on Facebook, give us a like and a share. I don't do this as the official podcast, but I do. This is actually my favorite part because it's it's unrestrained, it's open, it's fun. I laugh my ass
Your
off.
sister's here.
My sister's here.
Right.
Sometimes.
We inevitably talk
Emily.
about porn.
Yeah.
Can't help but.
Right.
So give it a like and a share. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe, hit the little thumbs up, and hit the little bell to get a notification next time I'm on. Check out the Facebook page, the group page, which is the Political Deep Dive Podcast, all one word. We'll put that up here. And for my podcast, I'm not going to do it this week because this week was an aborted show. But we are starting to put our podcast on SoundCloud. 2 Iran episodes up. I'm going to put Holly's Middle East episode up. But SoundCloud, the Political Deep Dive, those will be live Monday after I get to play around with the audio on those. So, also, please go see Kim Ruff's website, yournextmineinspector.com, and John Phillips for Liberty. Give it a like and share. Donate. We love these guys. They're all awesome. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I'll try and get the video to play, the closing video. It might be hiccupy, but anyway, thanks everybody. Love you guys. Love you, Care Bear. Love you, Emily.
Love you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, it's being a butt.